Good evening, everyone. Now call to order the August 8th, 2023 meeting of Lancaster City Council. Just a few reminders here at the top of the meeting. This meeting is being recorded and is being live streamed. During public comment periods in this meeting, please come to the microphone to be heard and also begin with your name and block of residence for the meeting minutes. Public comments are limited to no longer than 3 minutes per speaker per topic. And now, for all of those who are willing and able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Harris, would you please call the roll of members?
Yes, Madam President. Mr. Ahmed.
Here.
Mr. Arroyo.
Here.
Mr. Glees.
Here.
Ms. Craig.
Here.
Ms. Diaz.
Here.
Ms. Walsh.
Here.
And President Baker.
Here. We begin with the approval of the minutes for the July 11th, 2023 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the meeting minutes. Are there any council comments on the minutes? Hearing none. Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Glees.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Baker.
Aye. Our next item is proclamations, honors, awards, and resolutions of recognition. We have one of those this evening. We begin resolution number 58. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster recognizing August as National Black Business Month in the City of Lancaster and recognizing the significant contributions of African American entrepreneurs to the development and prosperity of our city.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was from Councilor Arroyo. Councilor Arroyo.
Thank you, Council President. This resolution is an opportunity for all of us here to celebrate Black-owned businesses here in Lancaster City that have helped build the wonderful community that we get to experience here every day. It's also an opportunity to recognize still the systemic barriers that exist for Black entrepreneurs when it comes to starting and growing their business, building wealth, and also achieving economic mobility. During this month, I encourage the City of Lancaster residents and those who visit us to spend their dollars at Black-owned businesses. Also encourage our resource providers to reflect and take action on new ways to break down barriers for all entrepreneurs to access the resources needed to thrive in Lancaster City.
Thank you very much, Councilor Arroyo. Are there any other council comments on the resolution? Are there any comments from the public on the resolution? Hearing none. Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Glees.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Baker.
Aye. Councilor Arroyo, you have some presentation copies to deliver.
Yes, thank you, Council President. We actually are welcome to have a guest, Chef Oliver, who is a entrepreneur here in Lancaster who owns Hamaj West African Cuisines. And I know one of our fellow councilors as well is a entrepreneur for over 2 decades, Councilor Craig? Yeah?
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. Great. So I'd actually love to present a physical copy of the resolution to both Councilor Craig and Chef Oliver. And if we can join for a photo, that'd be awesome.
Spectacular.
You okay?
Okay, which way are we headed?
There's not a good spot to take photos in here. Thank you very much. Sorry. Our next item Mr. Harris, are there any other proclamations, honors, awards, and resolutions?
There are not, Madam President.
Thank you. Our next item is public comment. This is the first public comment period. It's reserved for residents who have contacted the city clerk prior to the meeting to request an opportunity to address city council. The duration of comments is again limited to 3 minutes. Mr. Harris, are there any public comments for this period?
There are not, Madam President.
Thank you very much. Then we will move to our next item, which is reports requested by council. This is the 2024 budget preparation presentation, and I believe Mayor Sirachi might be handling that? Okay. No worries. That's a great reminder. If anyone has their devices on, sound on their devices, this is a good opportunity to silence them at this time, me included up here.
Mr. Harris, can you please pull the presentation up that I sent you earlier today?
Yes, Madam President.
Thank
All right.
It's okay.
Madam
Technology is great when it works, so thank you for bearing with us, everybody.
This is a little bit par for the course today because of the storms that affected the county last night. There has been outages throughout the city and the county, and we've had very slow internet in the city today.
Mhm.
David, is there more to say about that? Yeah. Yes. So we're coming back online. There we go. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Harris. Good evening, councilors. I realize that it is unusual to bring a report to council in the month of August regarding the 2023 budget, which has already been passed, and the 2024 budget, which has yet to be introduced. Think of this as setting the table, which is just given the reality that 2024 marks the last year of ARPA funding. We have a significant projected deficit in 2024, and that deficit is exacerbated in 2025 with the loss of the ARPA funding. So we internally have been starting budget discussions a lot earlier, and I wanted to include you in sort of give you a snapshot of where we are in August. Next slide. So just to refresh your memory, this is the 2023 adopted general fund budget. And on the left-hand side, under revenues, you can see the red slice of the pie at the bottom, which includes a use of fund balance reserves of $1,997,245, roughly 3% of the budget. It is not unusual for us to use general funds to pass a balanced budget. And each year, we work very hard to eliminate the use of those general fund reserves. Next slide. Any reduction in the general fund use of reserve funding will help us in the future years. So reducing our expenses in 2023 will allow for more available general fund reserves in 2024. And so right now, every city department is working to reduce expenses by a targeted amount to eliminate at a minimum $2 million use of reserves from the 2023 budget. And you can see those projected reserves over time. And I just want to say again, if this is the first time you're seeing this slide, it looks very scary. It is certainly something that we need to be very intentional about how we are going to bridge, especially given the ARPA funding going away. And historically, if you've been paying attention for a long time, you know that our 5-year projections that Mr. Hopkins would usually provide to us always included pretty significant deficits in the out years, looking 5 years ahead. Next slide. On the revenue side, we are projecting to come in close to the adopted budget at $69.9 million. Again, that's not including the use of reserve. We are running under budget with our federal grant revenue projections because we have some vacancies in our grant-funded positions, primarily in the lead program, but we are working to fill those positions. Earned income taxes projected at $350,000 over budget based on actual revenues through July. Plus, we're estimating a 5% over 2022 actuals for August through December. So we are continuing to see robust growth in our earned income taxes. And you'll recall when we passed the 2023 budget, we had assumed that we would see some growth in earned income tax, and that is holding steady. We're also seeing building permit revenues continue to be strong and projected to end about $110,000 over budget based on what we have received through July. So it's helpful that we have 7 months to look back on now as we look ahead to the next 5 months. I would say that we were pretty conservative in our building permit projections for 2023 in light of a rising interest rate environment. I also want to just put a footnote on this, that lots of things can change in the remaining months of this year, but this is our current understanding, and I just wanted to give you a picture of where we were with our revenues. Next slide. Okay, so 2023 budget. We've begun this preliminary revenue and expense forecasts. We've completed our staffing level review, looking at vacancies, what positions we are going to continue to hold vacant, and the budget savings that could be realized through holding those vacancies. We've also reviewed our fixed cost, and we have some year-end expense targets that will reduce our budget at least by $2 million for 2023. So these are the broad outlines of where we are with 2023. For 2024, I just want to underscore very preliminary when I talk about 2024 because we have to get through a couple more months of this year to really have a better understanding of some other costs, which I'll talk about a little later. So revenue estimates completed in June are guiding the 2024 budget planning. We also have expense targets for 2024, which is basically a completely flat budget. These steps will allow for a decision about staffing levels and other things that we need to decide on before we bring to you a 2024 budget for your consideration. And so just to say that we are at this juncture assuming that we can have no increase in the 2024 budget. And even with that assumption, we will see a growth in the budget because of the next things I'm going to talk about. Next slide. So fixed costs equal fixed challenges. And I just wanted to bring you an overview of a few of the fixed costs. These are the biggest ones: debt service at $6.6 million, pension obligations at 9.1, retiree medical benefits at 3.5 million, and our insurance package, which includes property and liability, at 1.2 million. So these four fixed costs amount to about 30% of the general fund budget. And at the current staffing levels, medical insurance for active employees amounts to an additional 7 million in benefit expenses. These don't change, these fixed costs don't change. The only thing that changes in this equation is if we reduce staffing levels, that would obviously have an impact in salary and fringe expenses, which includes medical insurance. Next slide. You'll recall that over the years, council has approved bond financing for various projects. Most recently, they have included 2 new fire stations, Culleton Park renovations, Ewell Plaza, Longs Park, wetlands and other parks, as well as street and facility improvements. Our general fund debt, on our general fund debt service payments were $5.6 million. This will increase to $6.6 million in 2024, as you can see on the slide, due to the full impact of the 2022 bond issuance. In years past, we've taken advantage of refinancing our debt to achieve lower interest rates, and we are no longer in a low interest rate environment, and also we don't have any bonds that would be eligible for refinancing at this time. So we've gotten as much juice out of that as we can squeeze for the next several years, especially given where we are in terms of interest rates. In 2023, the debt service represented 8% of the overall budget. And the 2023 budget, as you can see, also included a $2 million increase in debt service versus 2022. And again, that's those savings in 2021 and 22 we knew were short-lived, but this chart just highlights that. I would also say that it is a rule of thumb that we operate with less than 10% or less of our general fund budget going to debt service, and we're approaching 9% at this time. Next slide. Pension obligations. While there are other fixed costs, as I mentioned, debt service and retiree benefits represent the bulk of our fixed costs. These costs do not go away no matter what we do. These are mandatory pension plan contributions for police, fire, and non-uniformed staff, representing 3 of our bargaining units. You can also see with the black bar what the state pension aid has been, and note that that pension aid has remained relatively flat and has not kept up with our overall costs. Next slide. Medical insurance claims and administration, my favorite topic. It is very likely that in 2023 we will not see a 0.2% increase in medical costs. That was a projection before some very large medical claims became apparent. We have staff that are dealing with very significant illnesses, either themselves or their families. And we are anticipating that we will see more in the range of 7 to 8% increase over 2022. And so I just want to bring this to your attention because this is a place where the projections and the contributions that we will need to make to the internal service fund could really shift the outcome of 2023. And so, as I said, this is an August look. We are going to have more information about our medical claims data in the next couple of weeks as they close out the first half of the year and that data becomes available to us. And then the last slide is really just a recap of the fixed versus variable expenses in the 2023 budget. And you can see those fixed costs that I've just reviewed do not go away in any situation. They represent 28% of the budget, and those variable costs of $51 million. Note that many of the services that we provide are extremely labor intensive. They require 24-hour day, 7-day a week staffing levels, and it's very difficult to figure out when you think about where the majority of our staffing in police, in fire, and in DPW, where there can be reductions. And so this will be the challenge that we will have going into 2024 and 2025, is to continue to squeeze out as much efficiency as possible. And we are working on a number of things. I'll just mention one thing that I think was mentioned in the budget process last fall. We have just moved to an enterprise system for our fleet management for all of our vehicles, and that will result in some pretty significant savings. And so we just have to keep doing that consistently throughout the organization, looking at all of the ways that we can save money. Another example is we've just signed a new contract for how we do printing in the city. So copying machines are actually quite expensive, especially when a lot of people have them on their desks and they require individual toner and all of that. And so we have brought all of that under one contract instead of having disparate contracts throughout the city. So again, economies of scale, squeezing out efficiencies wherever we can. Those are two small examples. They're not like even 1% of our budget, but it just reflects that we're leaving no stone unturned at this point. And with that, I would just say that, actually there's one more slide, I was wrong. Just say that, and as is the case in every year, fixed costs remain a significant challenge to creating a budget that provides for services and is also affordable. We have every department that's been tasked with finding expense savings, and the budget that will come to City Council in November will really represent 9 months of work to balance all of the conflicting needs that we have in terms of our long-term fiscal health, taxpayer affordability, and maintaining services for the city. The next step for our team, we've completed the first draft. We call it Level 1. That has been completed internally. Level 2 will be completed in September. That's when we start digging into even more of the details of the budget. Every department is required to submit their budgets, their second draft of budgets essentially by September. That will give us adequate time to really line up our revenue projections and our expenses and figure out where the gaps are, and to eventually come before you with a balanced budget and a plan for how we're going to address those budget gaps. That concludes my report to council. I appreciate the opportunity to brief you on the work that is happening right now, and look forward to continuing this conversation in the months ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Sirachi. We appreciate this preview. As you mentioned, we've never had a budget conversation in August, and I think it's important that we begin hearing about this now and setting the stage for what's to come, because it is incredibly important. So thank you, and we look forward to hearing more as we get closer to November. We now move to reports of committees of council. These meetings were held on August 1st, 2023. We begin with the Public Safety Committee. Councilor Diaz.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have Resolution 56, 2023, authorizing an exception of the Biojustice Grant, which will be brought up at the legislative agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Diaz. The next is the Public Works Committee. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Council President. The Public Works Committee did meet, and there are two items on the agenda: Council Resolution Number 51, 2023, and Administration Resolution 52, 2023. Both will be brought up later in the agenda, and that concludes the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Economic Development Committee. Councilor Arroyo.
Thank you, Council President. The Economic Development Committee did not meet during the last session.
Thank you. Finance Committee. Councilor Ahmed.
Thank you, Council President. The Finance Committee did not meet during our last session.
Thank you. Community Planning Committee, Counselor Craig.
Thank you, Council President. Community Planning did meet in my absence. There were two things on the agenda: the review of a historical commission recommendation for Milburn Apartment LLC project at 609 Rockland Street, and also Administration Resolution number 55, 2023, authorizing an emergency solutions grant application for homelessness services. And that concludes, but both will come up later on in the legislative agenda.
Thank you very much, Counselor Craig. Personnel Committee, Counselor Kalixt.
Thank you, Madam President. The Personnel Committee met August 1st and reviewed nominations for appointment to the Lancaster Airport Authority, Lancaster County Convention Center Authority, Sign Commission, and Noise Control Board. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Counselor Kalixt. Our next item is our legislative agenda, and the first item are our nominations for appointment that you mentioned previously. Counselor Kalixt.
Thank you, Madam President. I make a motion to appoint Frank Vargas III to the Lancaster Airport Authority for a term from August 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2027. And reappoint Sharon Nelson to the Lancaster County Convention Center Authority for a term from September 30th, 2023 to September 30th, 2027. We appoint DJ Ramsey to the Sign Commission for a term from August 31st, 2023 to August 31st, 2026. We appoint Adam Taylor to the Noise Control Board for a term from February 1st, 2023 to February 1st, 2028.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the appointments. Any council comments on the appointments?
I'm going to ask if any of the appointees are here.
Yes, and Counselor Kalixt, if you have anything for the appointees. I think several of them are here in case.
For now, I don't have any comment about the appointees. And I think Mr. Frank Vargas III, I don't know if he's here today with us.
Yes.
Would you please come forward? Thank you for being here tonight. Would you please introduce yourself to council and tell us why you want to serve on the board?
If there's a button on that microphone, this is the red light turn on.
Does that work?
There we go.
There we go. My name's Frank Vargas. I'm an attorney for about 39 years now, practicing in the city with the law firm of Blakinger Thomas. I've been in the city for 39 years practicing. I've had a successful career thanks to the community. My area of practice is I am head of the real estate department in our law firm, and I have spent considerable amount of my time practicing, representing developers, doing development projects in the form of financing, leasing, the entitlement process, et cetera. And I was contacted by Dick Stauffer on the Airport Authority, and he's looking to retire. And as you know, he is one of the principal founding members of RGS Associates, and he was on the authority because of his knowledge of land development, zoning, and the entitlement process. And it was surprising to me. I met with the employment committee and then also with the entire board of the authority to talk about it. And I was surprised to learn that other than what we would normally think of, the Airport Authority is dealing with airplanes, they're doing a lot with real estate because they have significant real estate holdings. And luckily, the founding members of our community were forward-thinking and purchased a lot of real estate. And for those of you that don't know, the Penn Cinema Mixed Restaurant, that's actually on restaurant property. There's significant other undeveloped portions of the real estate that are available for the authority to generate income to make it into a more first-class facility. And that's why I was asked to be on the authority. And I was welcomed the opportunity because I firmly believe one of the things you have to do if you are a successful person in this community is give back to that community. And one of the ways I can give back is through applying the things that I've learned and the knowledge I've gained through the course of my career to help that authority advance its objectives. So I thank you for the opportunity. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. And what would you like to accomplish during your term?
I would like to accomplish, first of all, I want a complete, full working understanding of everything that the authority is doing and has done. I thought it was very interesting, the meeting that I attended. Their solicitor attends pretty much every meeting, and he was very knowledgeable on the history, which I thought was excellent, because he's a resource that I can tap to understand why we are where we are today and what are the projects that we're looking to do going forward. They're also looking at ways to expand the services provided at the airport, which I think is really critical to our community. I think it's important that Lancaster be really a leading force when it comes to airport transportation for the people in our community and surrounding us. We should have them coming out of Lancaster instead of Harrisburg or other airports. And how do we do that? And I need to have a better understanding of what's being done and what can be done to get people out to the airport so they take advantage of those opportunities to travel and make it accessible to everybody in the community. I think that that's critical.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you. Any other questions or comments from Mr. Vargas? From council? From the public?
I'm
Thank
happy
you.
to give you my card. I think you have all my information. I would welcome any one of you who would like to sit down and talk, grab a cup of coffee, give me a phone call, shoot me an email. I'm here to talk. I want to listen to what people have to say. I firmly believe this can be a really great authority. Thank you.
Thank you for your willingness to serve, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Cleeks, for giving Mr. Vargas an opportunity since he was unable to attend our last meeting.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second on the nominations. I'll check again. Are there any council comments on the nominations? From the public? Hearing none. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Med.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
President Beke.
Aye. Our next item is the legislative budget transfers. Councilor Ahmed.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, as you're aware, the city is self-insured for workers' compensation costs. Every year, funds to pay workers' compensation claims are included in the individual department's budgets, but those claims are paid from the administrative services budget. So each quarter, we shift money from the departments where those injured workers have made claims to the administrative services budget to cover the costs. For the second quarter of the year, workers' comp claims were made by city police officers and firefighters. A total of $27,370.44 is being moved from those department budgets to administrative services. Because this money is being moved between departments, this requires city council approval. So I make a motion to approve the second quarter workers' compensation transfers totaling $27,370.44 as proposed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the budget transfers. Any council comment on those transfers? From the public? Hearing none. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Med.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
President Beke.
Aye. Our next item is the Heritage Conservation District. We have two related items. Mr. Harris?
Considering the following applications and recommendations from the Historical Commission for improvements to properties within the Heritage Conservation District, Milburn Apartments LLC, Chestnut Street Housing Corporation, owners of 609 Rockland Street, proposed demolition of a fire-damaged modern building to allow new construction on this site. And the second is Milburn Apartments LLC, Chestnut Street Housing Corporation, owners of 609 Rockland Street, propose construction of a new two-story multifamily residential building at 609 Rockland Street, and both of those applications were recommended for approval by the Historical Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve on both of those items. Are there any Councilor Craig.
Thank you,
Skipping
Council.
that tonight.
Thank you, Council President. So in my absence, Rick Waller of Envision Architects, the project architect, said that Chestnut Street Housing purchased 607 and 609 Rockland Street. He said that the properties were severely damaged by fire in 2020. Plans call for extensive renovation of 607 Rockland Street while maintaining the historic facade and demolishing and rebuilding 609 Rockland on the same footprint. When completed, 609 Rockland Street will have 6 affordable housing units, and 607 will have 2 affordable housing units. Chad Martin is here if anybody has any questions pertaining to this project further.
Thank you very much, Councilor Craig. I'll just, if I may add, this is a project that received awards of ARPA funding for our affordable housing projects. And these units, as part of the presentation, it was mentioned that preference for the folks who would eventually live in these units would be given to anyone who has experienced homelessness. So that's a major important point that we should make with this project. And these were both recommended for approval by the Historical Commission. Any council comments or questions on the motion?
Council President, if I may.
Councilor Ahmed.
How many total units are going to be included in this project, both the affordable units and also the market rate, if there are any market rate units? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your question, Mr. Ahmed. I'm Chad Martin from Chestnut Housing. So there are 2 properties here. The one that is for your consideration this evening, 609, will have 6 affordable units. No market rate, all will be affordable with a preference for homelessness. 607, which has no need for any approvals from the Historical Commission because we're maintaining the historic facade, is part of the same project but a separate parcel, and there will be 2 affordable units there. Again, no market rate units. So a total of 8 across the project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Ahmed. Any other comments from council?
If I may,
Councilor Diaz?
thank you so much for everything you do.
Oh, thank you. We're thrilled to move forward with this project and bring these units to the neighborhood.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Council President. Just a few questions, some concerning the construction piece. So for 609, it's 6 units, is that correct? And then within those 6 units, can you talk about the bedroom breakdown size within those 6?
Yes, all 6 will be efficiency units. They're somewhat on the large size. They have kind of a separate sleeping area, but they're technically efficiencies.
Do you have the square footage offhand?
Rick, our architect, is here. I believe they range from about 450 to 550. Does that sound right?
So
Yeah.
they would be single occupancy?
Yes.
And what about for 607, the bedroom breakdown?
Those are intended to both, the current plan is 2 two-bedroom units there.
Thank you. And then just a question about the programmatic side. So once we have these built and these units are online, can you talk about your income qualification process or your preference giving process? What will that look like for residents who are seeking?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this project for us is a bit of a pivot project to grow our capacity as a program. So there are some things we will be doing somewhat differently. Our track record, though, over the last 10, 11 years that we have been doing this work, providing affordable housing, our we're a small organization and we work on a lean budget. So one of the ways we do that is working closely with partner agencies who bring resident referrals to us for our housing and then also provide case management support. So we work closely with a number of agencies that you all will be familiar with: Tenfold, CAP, Milagro House, some others in the community. For this project, in order to meet both the ARPA and we received a home loan approval from the city and county for this project as well. So to fit within that compliance, we'll have to formalize some of our income qualification process that will look much like other affordable housing agencies in the community, where we'll have a more open application process, but we'll continue to work with those agencies in how we kind of screen and support residents. I will say, there's not only a preference for serving families and individuals who've experienced homelessness, but we expect here we've committed all of these units will be for households below 50% of median income. So those, that doesn't quite hit the technical label of very low income, but we're certainly working to provide housing with folks who really struggle to make ends meet in their household budgets.
And then with this project being the first time you're doing any sort of standardized income qualification, do you feel supported? I know ARPA can be, and a lot of the federal grants could be a little bit difficult to maneuver, so do you feel like you have support within the community, whether that's through the city's agency or anything, to be able to build out that qualification?
Yeah, that's a great question as well, and appreciate that. Both city and county staff have been very supportive, and we're kind of working through that process. We do currently work with Tenfold on some of our current income qualification and review process, so I'm sure we'll work closely with partners like Tenfold as we build that capacity.
Great. And then just to be clear, there's no other residency requirement other than income qualification. This is open to anybody within the community who meets those?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Counselor Walsh. Are there any comments on the approvals from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Baker.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Our next item, resolutions. We have resolution number 51, 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster requesting a multimodal transportation fund grant not to exceed $1.8 million from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for the Water Street Bike Boulevard.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the resolution. Counselor Walsh.
Thank you, Council President. Excuse me. This grant is in the amount of 1.8, and I believe this would help with the portfolio funding for the Water Street. I have it right in front of me, and now I can't find it. Water Street Bicycle Boulevard, there it is. And as was explained in committee, the mayor had made mention that this particular bicycle boulevard runs the length from Water Street from Fairview Avenue to Harrisburg Avenue, and would provide a mix of shared on-street bike facilities and a half-mile portion which will be off-road, and it provides improvements of intersections such as raised speed bumps, bump-out curb extensions, ADA-compliant ramps, piano key crosswalk markings, and rapid flashing beacons. Like I said, this is a request for a grant for the entire project itself, and as before, I commend the Department of Public Works for going after these grant fundings to help bolster some of the costs. I don't have too much to add. If the mayor or Director Campbell would like to speak more on it, that would be wonderful.
Hello, Director Campbell.
Hello, how are you? Thank you very much for having me. I think you did a fantastic summary of the project. I just wanted to add that the overall cost of the project is expected to be $6.2 million. We have already dedicated $775,000 from our bond issue, and that means that 12% of the cost of the project is from the city. The other 88% is from a variety of grant funding, 1.8 from the CFA, 3.1 from the Connect 2040 from the Municipal Planning Organization. So this is one of those opportunities where we get a huge bang for our buck. It also allows us to have the public be presented with and exposed to not only better recreation, it builds out our active transportation network, but also exposes people to the green infrastructure and the varieties of other infrastructure that are developed throughout the city. It also addresses several of our high-injury network intersections, as well as further fulfilling the Safe Streets for All projects.
Thank you very much, Director Campbell. I think there was an outstanding question from the previous meeting. We were looking at when this might be implemented or when construction might begin.
We do expect construction to begin in 2025. So there's a lot that's currently under design. We've been basically moving different segments throughout the city and having a lot of community meetings and organizational meetings. But the design has progressed far enough so that we'll be able to have full design documents ready in early 2024, be able to do the bidding, et cetera, and have construction start in 2025.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments from council?
Council President, I just wanted to, again, take into consideration with having the green infrastructure and public art considerations in this project. Thank you for doing so. I think it's really important to keep consistent with some of the other priorities that we have. It's really nice to see that included.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Mann.
Aye.
Mr. Royo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz. Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Baker.
Aye. We now move to resolution number 52, 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster requesting a Keystone Communities grant of as much as $500,000 from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development for streetscape and safety improvements.
Motion to approve? Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Council President. This is another grant application in the amount of $500,000 from DCED, and this one is specifically for the, here we go again, for the South Duke Street pedestrian safety improvements, and during committee, the mayor did provide a summation of it. I do, if Director Campbell, if there's anything that you would like to add, but during committee, we did discuss some of the, thank you. Thank you very much for providing me with these notes that I just had up. The proposed improvements will run from Church Street to Chesapeake Street and will include curb bump outs, providing new crossings for pedestrians, a shared use side path to separate bikes from vehicular traffic, upgrades to existing sidewalks and pedestrian lighting, and a new bus shelter. And I had left a question on the table about where the new bus shelter would be, and Director Campbell said that that would be taking place of the existing bus stop on Dolphin Street. Is there anything else you would like to add to this one? Thank you.
Yes, again, thank you for the opportunity to give a little bit more information. This is augmenting financing for the further development of that stretch of South Duke Street. So the overall project there is approximately $3.5 million. This $500,000 is applied from the DCED Keystone Community Grant Program. Approximately $1.2 million is from Commonwealth Finance, multimodal, and then there's $700,000 from the Automated Red Light Enforcement Grant. another $225,000 from our partners in CPED, the CDBG grants, and there's other funding that comes along as well. This, in fact, is a higher level of investment per linear foot, if you will, than the stretch along Water Street. So we are actually fulfilling another commitment towards the integration of the goals of that community outreach. If many in the community remember, there had been a design program several years ago that proposed some alterations to the South Duke Street corridor. That in many ways, some of that was rejected because it did not necessarily engage the community as much as we wanted to. There were as few as 3 or 4 community meetings in that earlier enterprise. For this outfitting, we have as many as 16 community outreach meetings for a variety of community organizations, and we continue to have discussions as necessary so that we're fully incorporating and engaging members and organizations within that community.
Thank you very much, Director Campbell, and I appreciate you talking a little bit about the public engagement on this project. It's always nice to hear that if we don't get it right the first time, we can go back and we can try it again and take that feedback and use it. And 16 meetings and counting is very impressive on this project. So thank you for your work on that.
Thank you.
Are there any other council comments on the resolution? Councilor Craig.
Director Campbell, once the grant would be approved, when would the project start?
Very good. I always forget to be able to update that part. This project, we actually anticipate construction starting sometime in 2024. So sometime next year, we would actually have construction underway.
And what would be the length from start to completion estimating?
I would imagine, I honestly do not know for sure. That will in large part depend on how the bidding goes and how they choose to do the phasing of the work. I would anticipate anywhere from 8 to 14 months, depending on the level of infrastructure to be addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further council comments?
Council President, if I may.
Councilor Ahmed.
Thank you, Director Campbell, for the further information. About how far of South Duke will this stretch?
The intention is to go from Church Street all the way down to Chesapeake.
Okay.
And we will be also, for those of you who are familiar, there's a 50-foot wide city zone on the northeast side of Duke Street, which becomes part of the bikeway, the active transportation way, opportunities for park-like sitting, engagement with entities for artwork, et cetera, so that becomes a bit more programmed space.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from council? Councilor Diaz?
One question only. In regards to the budget, will you have any type of security cameras that's going to be considered to be installed? Because that area can get very dark and there's a lot of crime.
So there will actually be some upgrade in lighting incorporated into this project. Generally speaking, security cameras, we operate differently. We work with the Security Coalition, and there are a number of cameras there, but I believe the intention, based on much of the input from the community, is for there to be some increased camera visibility. This, in large part, connects to our larger citywide efforts to make sure that we have as much security camera coverage as practical without being intrusive.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments on the resolution from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Beke.
Aye. Our next item is resolution number 53, 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster authorizing the filing of a Department of Community and Economic Development's Strategic Management Planning Program grant application for $126,500.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This resolution authorizes a grant application to DCED for our Home Rule Study Commission. They fund projects such as this, and we've received grants of this nature back in 2019 and 2022 for other planning. The Home Rule Study Commission, I believe, is still in the process of adopting a budget, although I'm not sure if they completed that at their last meeting. But this application allows for city officials to submit the application and for us to hold matching funds for amount up to $126,500. Mayor Sirachi, is all of that correct? Is that the most up-to-date information?
Yes, it is.
Thank
And
you.
there is opportunity to amend the budget as needed, but this gets the application submitted, and those costs include legal assistance, the professional services from the Pennsylvania Economy League, support for city clerk, technology needs, advertising needs, things like that.
Great. Thank you very much. Are there any council comments on the resolution? Comments from the public? Hearing none. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Ahmed?
Aye.
Mr. Roya?
Aye.
Mr. Cleese?
Aye.
Ms. Craig?
Aye.
Ms. Diaz?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
President Beke?
Aye. Our next item is Administration Resolution Number 54, 2023. Mr. Harris?
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster approving the raising of the Puerto Rican flag on November 13, 2023, in recognition of Puerto Rican Heritage Month and to acknowledge the contributions of Puerto Ricans to all aspects of life in the City of Lancaster.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is a flag-raising resolution that hopefully we are now familiar with. They have applied to do the flag raising in November with a date of November 13th and a rain date of November 14th if necessary. This is in accordance with our ordinance that we passed last year that organizations need to apply at least 120 days in advance to fly a flag at City Hall. Are there any other council comments on this resolution? Comments from the public? Hearing none. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Ahmed?
There's a question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Come on up. Good evening.
Good evening, council. Just wanted to bring awareness in regards to the Puerto Rican flag, our flag, freedom. Just a little comment, freedom but not yet free. On December 10th, 1898, the signing of the Treaty of Paris led to the United States taking possession of Puerto Rico. After the Spanish-American War, at that time, no flags were allowed to be flown in Puerto Rico other than the United States. The spirit of Puerto Rican independence took another hit when the Puerto Rico legislature passed Law 53, the Gag Law, which made it illegal to fly a Puerto Rican flag, sing patriotic songs, or do anything that encouraged Puerto Rican independence. In 1957, the Gag Law was repealed, and the flag of Puerto Rico was proudly flown. Today's flag has 5 alternating stripes of red and white, and with a white star in the middle of a blue triangle. The blue triangle represents the 3 branches of Puerto Rico's government, as well as the waters surrounding the island, which is represented by the white star. The red stripe symbolizes the blood sacrifice during the fight for independence, and it's a reminder of the people who fought for Puerto Rico. Finally, the white stripe stands for victory, liberty, and peace. And I just wanted to share that to recognize the Puerto Rican flag, what it entails, and what we represent. Thank you for giving us that.
Thank you. And we're going to do it backwards, but Ms. Gomez, if you could state your name and block of residence for the meeting minutes.
Susie Gomez, 115 North Reservoir Street.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Any other comments from the public on the resolution? Hearing none. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Ahmed?
Aye.
Mr. Roya?
Aye.
Mr. Cleese?
Aye.
Ms. Craig?
Aye.
Ms. Diaz?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
And President Beke?
Aye. Our next item, Resolution Number 55, 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster authorizing the filing of a proposal for ESG funds from the Department of Community and Economic Development, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in an amount not to exceed $750,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Counselor Craig.
Thank you, Council President. Ms. Dia, City Community Development Administrator, said the resolution is required when, a resolution is required when the city makes an application for ESG funding. In pursuing these funds, the city is collaborating with the Lancaster County Housing and Redevelopment Authority and the Lancaster County Homelessness Coalition. The city was not a recipient of emergency shelter grant entitlement funds for the last 2 years, but seeking funding along with the county and coalition to address gaps in homelessness services. If grant funds are received, they would be directed to 9 organizations which provide homelessness services in the area of homelessness prevention, emergency shelter, and street outreach. The city is requesting $750,000 in this grant application. The city cannot receive more than 60% of the funding for those efforts. And I don't know if Ms. Dia is here or Rebecca is here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rebecca.
You might want to add to that in case I missed something.
Good evening.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I think you summed it up very well. Glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Counselor Craig. I'll just add something that I took away from Ms. Diaz's presentation last week was that it is a competitive grant. We haven't received these funds over the past 2 years. And in total, the state of Pennsylvania receives $5.8 million to spread around to 67 counties and countless municipalities. So this is a very small drop in the bucket, unfortunately, for something we could use a lot more funds for. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Great. Are there any other council comments or questions on the resolution? Comments from the public? Hearing none. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Ahmed?
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo?
Aye.
Mr. Cleese?
Aye.
Ms. Craig?
Aye.
Ms. Diaz?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
President Beke?
Aye. Our next item is Administration Resolution Number 56, 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster authorizing the submission of an application seeking funding from the U.S. Department of Justice for the FY 2023 Burn Justice Assistance Grant Program.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Counselor Diaz.
Yes, the City of Lancaster is authorizing a submission of application for funding from the United States Department of Justice for the fiscal year 2023 of the JAG program. The JAG program provides federal funding for crime prevention and intervention activities based on local needs and condition. Lancaster City and the county are listed as jurisdiction allowing only one unit for local government to apply for the JAG funding. The city and the county agreed to allocate 100% of the JAG funds to the Lancaster City Bureau of Police for specific purposes, including the purchase of cell phone extractions equipment, update on the polygraph system, license plate reading, individual first aid kits. The city and the county will submit a funding application for the U.S. Department for the fiscal year for the JAG grant. The city and the county would also enter a memorandum of understanding regarding the obligation and the use of the grant funds. The City Police Bureau of Lancaster is authorizing a submission fund application for the amount of $52,284 to the Department of the United States Justice. And the purpose of the officials of the city are authorized to enter the memorandum for understanding and take the necessary actions to fulfill this term. That is all.
Thank you very much, Counselor Diaz. Are there any council comments on the resolution? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Bacon.
Aye. All right, our next item, resolution number 57, 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster authorizing the execution of a broadband partnership agreement with Shenandoah Telecommunications, Shentel, to design, build, operate, and maintain a fiber-to-the-premises network in the City of Lancaster.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We heard a presentation on this agreement from City Solicitor Barry Handwerker at our committee meeting, and council has been provided with a copy of the partnership agreement in question. A couple of high points that were of note. The agreement states that Shentel will maintain but not own the existing fiber network. The construction of the new fiber network is at no cost to the city. Shentel will bear all costs and responsibility in building their network. It will be completed within 3 years. They are to provide a construction plan and timeline and communications plan and developed with the city and produce, make a procedure to collect complaints and resolve them within 10 business days, give quarterly construction reports to the city, produce language access for their calls and marketing materials that are similar to what the City of Lancaster offers for residents, and also that they would offer $30 a month service for low-income users that would be a net zero cost to them with federal assistance that is provided. Mr. Handwerker, if there's anything else that you'd like to state outside of that very high-level overview of the agreement, I would welcome you. Good evening, and thank you for being here.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. No, it's with great honor and excitement that I presented this resolution to you at the committee meeting. This has been a long and arduous process for me, dating back to 2014 and most recently from 2018. I think you've summarized the agreement very well. I think it's a great opportunity for the city and more importantly, for all of the city residents who will have something that very few cities have, which is 100% coverage of fiber to the premises.
Thank you very much. Council comments or questions? Councilor Diaz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question. So Shentel and also Glo Fiber are combined, right? There are two entities they're not.
They're the same. So Glo Fiber is the trade under which Shentel operates for the production of its fiber.
Thank you for clarification.
Thank you. Any further council comments?
Council President, if I may.
Councilor Walsh.
I have to laugh because this resolution or any information regarding Shentel, regarding any presentation they have given or anything, always comes at the end of the meeting. And I don't think it is often given the attention that it needs, but I think this is a really tremendous opportunity for the residents in Lancaster City to have this access that so few have across the state and even across the nation. So I applaud all of the work that went into this, and I think this is a really big step forward for access, internet access to all of our residents. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Any other council comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Bacon.
Aye. All right, that concludes our legislative agenda this evening. We now move to our second public comment period. This is open for comments about any issues that were not previously listed on the agenda. Duration of comments is limited to no longer than 3 minutes per speaker per topic. And as always, please begin with your name and block of residence for the meeting minutes. Do we have any public comments this evening? Going once, going twice. Hearing none. I'll close public comment this evening, and we will move to the report of the mayor, Mayor Sirachi.
Thank you. I have 3 items tonight, and for the first, I'd like to invite Jess King forward to introduce Bryant, and we are very excited to welcome him and his wife to the city, and Jess is going to tell us a little more.
Good evening, Council, and thanks, Mayor. I am very pleased to introduce Bryant Heng, who is starting with us, just started on Monday, as a 2-year Harvard City Hall Fellow, fully funded through a grant to Harvard through the Bloomberg Philanthropies. This is a long part of the city's connection with the Bloomberg City Leadership Initiative that we've been part of since Mayor Sirachi took office, and I think you went the first time in 2018. Some others from our senior executive team have been there. And the most recent gift of this affiliation is that Bryant will be working with us for 2 years, and his focus is going to be on implementation of key aspects of the city's comprehensive plan, especially focused on economic development opportunities to improve quality of life for city residents. So couldn't be more thrilled that he's starting this week, and you will be hearing more about what the specifics are of his work as the comprehensive plan is brought back through the Planning Commission and also back to you in the next several months.
Thank you. And Bryant, if you would like to come to the podium and just introduce yourself and your lovely wife and say a few words about yourself, that would be great. Bryant is a newlywed. I'm just going to spill the beans.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. It's an honor to be here and to be assigned as a City Hall Fellow to the City of Lancaster. Again, my name is Bryant Heng. I'm a Dutch national, and my wife is Sephora. And we married 2 months ago, and we're very happy to start our new phase of our lives here in this region and also serving the city. Very excited for this opportunity, but also, to be part of the Lancaster community and family. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Bryant. Thanks, Jess.
And I'll just note that Bryant and Zipporah just graduated from the Kennedy School with degrees in Masters of Public Administration and Public Policy.
Thank you. And while we're introducing people, I also was remiss earlier to not introduce David. And David is our new Chief Data and Technology Officer. David, would you mind coming to the podium and just giving a quick introduction? We're very excited to welcome David as well to the city.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, my name is David Kapach. I'm the new Chief Data and Technology Officer. Just started 2 weeks ago. We're working on currently building out the IT team and also in tangent building out the new data team that will be hosted here at City Hall. I have been here for a little under 2 years now and looking forward to working with you all on all the projects that we're working on right now, City Works, City View, all those, for example. And hopefully deliver you a lot of good information, a lot of good intelligence for the work that you do here and everyone here at City Hall.
Thank you. I think between David and Bryant, we feel like we've really landing in a good spot as it relates to the kind of information that both of them will be collecting, which will be very important for us as we both implement the comprehensive plan, but also as we address, as we learn more about how to work smarter, not harder, as it relates to using information technology and data to inform our decisions and best practices. So thank you, David. And my final item on the agenda tonight is bittersweet, and it is Jess King's last city council meeting. She will be with us through Friday, August the 25th, and then will begin her new role as the inaugural executive director of the Steinman Institute for Civic Engagement. And we could not be more proud of you and this opportunity for you to launch a new organization that is dedicated to the foundation of our government, which is democracy and civic engagement. And I know that you will not be far away, just across the alley over here, and we're very grateful that you will be so close by and look forward to seeing your many accomplishments in the future unfold. And I just want to say you have been a tremendous partner to the city. You've advanced many strategic initiatives. You provided so much support to the executive leadership team in the work and advancing the work, and you will truly be missed. And I did not want the evening to go by without publicly acknowledging you, Jess. You've become a very dear friend, and I appreciate you. Thank you. That concludes my report, Council President. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Sirachi. Sorry, we made her cry. The next item, excuse me, is the report of President of Council, of which I have none this evening. So we will move to any council comments this evening. Are there any council comments tonight? Councilor Craig.
I'm very pleased that we have IT going on right here because this is dead.
What a fortuitous evening for you to be here this evening, David. Thank you, Councilor Craig. Any further council comments? All right, hearing none and have concluded our business this evening, I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Dead, I mean, dead.
I left it over
Dead
there.
as a doornail. Dead as a doornail.
Perfect timing. When did it die?
When did you, has this been your only one because I've had